Dear students, this is the important units of block 3, that is the rule of law. And rule of law is basically a basic concept of the governance systems. And this is very important theory of the comparative government and politics. That means that when we're talking about the rule of law, is a fundamental principles in legals and political theory that asserts that everything, including the governments, is subject to and accountable under the law. It emphasizes that idea that laws should govern a nations and opposed to arbitrary decisions by individuals, governments, officials. Here is a details explanations of its key components. That is, we talking about the components of the law. Here is some important things of the rule of law. That is supremacy of law. That means when we talking about the rule of law, it is very important supremacy of law and principles. The law is supreme and must be followed by everyone, including those in positions of the power. That means that no any persons can above the law, and law is supreme and must be followed everyone's, including those in the power. Its implications: no one is above the law, and all actions of governments and individuals must be in accordance with it. This ensures that power is exercised within the legal framework. This is very important things. Next is called rule of law, that means equality before the law. And its equality, that means all individuals are equal under the law, regardless of a status, wealth, or positions. Its implications, that means law should be applied impartially and legal procedures should be the same for everywhere. This prevents discriminations and ensure fair treatments in the legal matters. That means that no persons is above the law and all persons are equal before the law. All individuals are equal under the law, regardless of their caste, status, wealth, accumulations, or whatever the positions, officials or non-officials. Its implications: law should be applied impartially and legal procedures should be the same for everyone. This prevents discriminations and ensure fair treatments in the legal matters. It is very important parts. Now come to the next important things, that is called the accountability of the law. Principals, government officials, public figures, and ordinary citizens, all citizens are all accountable under the law. Implications: mechanisms such as judicial review, audits, and investigations are essential to hold those in power accountability for their actions, ensuring that they act within the boundary set by the law. This is very important principles. Now come to the next important things, that is fair and impartial judiciary. When we're talking about the fair and impartial judiciary, the judiciary must be independent, impartial, and free from undue influences from the other branches of governments or private interest. Implications: judge should decide cause based on the law and evidence without favoritisms or biasness, ensuring that justice is served is everywhere. This is also important things. Now come to the legal certainty and predictability of the rule of law. Law must be clear, publicized, stable, and applied evenly. This is very certain things. And implications of law, these individuals and business needs to understand the law and its consequences. This predictability allows for plannings and prevents arbitrary enforcements and retroactivity law that could unfairly harms individual. That is very important part of the rule of law. Now come to the access of justice. Access of justice, that is principles everywhere. Everyone should be access to legal representations and the court to seek protections of their rights or redressals of grievances. Implications: legal system must be accessible, affordable, and efficient, ensuring that justice is not just just theoreticals but practicals and achievable for all the things. Everyone should have access to the legal representations and the courts to seek protections for their rights or redresses of grievances. Implications that is also called legal system must be accessible, affordability, and efficient, ensuring that justice is not just theoretical but practical and achievable for all the things. This is very important part. Now come to the protections of the fundamental rights. This is also the rule of law. Principles. The law must protect fundamental human rights, including the rights of life, liberty, and property. This is very important part. Implications. Law and legal process should be protected individuals from abuse by the states or other, ensuring that rights are respected and upheld and all the things. This is very important part of the rule of law. Next is that is separations of power. That means when we talking about the separations of power, power is divided among different branches of the government, typically executive, legislative, and judiciary, to prevent the concentrations of power. This is also the importance of rule of law. And implications, these separations ensure that no single branch has absolute powers, with each branch serving as a checks on the others, thus protecting individual freedoms and maintaining the law is very important parts of the rule of law. That means the rule of law has giving the important characters of the separations of the powers. None next characters of rule of law, that is non-arbitrary lawmaking. That means law should be made through the transparent democratic process that reflect the will of the peoples. And its applications, legislation should not be created to serve the interest of a few, but should be products of debates, consultations, and considerations of the public goods. This is very important significance of the non-arbitrary lawmaking process. Next, that is due process. Due process law must be administered in the fair and consistent manner following established legal procedures. It is very important. Implications, individual must be given notice of legal actions against them, a fair hearings, and the opportunity to present their cases, ensuring that justice is done. This is also important part of the rule of law. Next is that importance of rule of law. That means when we're talking about the significance, that is protections of the rights. If the protections of right, it safeguard individual rights against arbitrary powers. That means no any person can use their arbitrary powers. Everything is mentioned, their powers, their duty, responsibility in the constitutions. Promotes fairness, ensuring that law are applied equally to all, prevents abuse of powers, limits the powers of governments, and prevents authoritarianism. And that is also fosters social order. By providing a predictable and a stable legal frameworks, it promotes social stability and orders. Next is that is called the economic growth. A strong rule of law encourages investments by ensuring that contracts are enforced and property rights are protected. This is very important components of the rule of law. Next, that is what are the challenges before the rule of law? That is corruption. Corruption is one of the important challenges undermine the fairness and effectiveness of legal systems. Authoritarianism's concentrations of power can be erode the rule of law, lack of access to the justice, inequality in accessing legal representations can be weaken the rule of law. Weak institutions, inadequate legal and judicial institutions may be fail to uphold the rule of law. These are the important challenges. Now I am going to once again the summarize the rule of law. That means in once I will trying to make some kind of the summary of the rule of law. When we're talking about the rule of law, that is the supremacy of law. Law is supreme and must be followed by everyone, including those its holding positions also. and it's talking about no one is above the law and all actions of governments and individuals must be in accordance with it and ensure that power is exercised within the legal frameworks. And next rule of law, that is equality before the law. All individuals are equal under the law regardless of a status, base and positions. Law should be applied impartially and legal procedures should be the same everywhere, and this prevent discriminations and ensure fair treatments in legal matters. Now come to the accountability to the law principles. Government officials, public figures, and ordinary citizens are all accountable under the law. Implications, that is mechanism such as judicial review, audits, and investigations are essential to hold those in power accountable for their actions, ensuring that they act within the boundaries set by the law. Fair and impartial judiciary, that is also judiciary must be independent, impartial, and free from undue influences from the other branches of governments or private interest. Judges should be decide cases based on the law and evidence without favoritisms or biasness, ensuring that justice is served in every case. Legal certainty and predictability. Law must be clear, publicized, stable, and applied evenly. Individuals and business need to understand the law and its consequences. This predictability allows for plannings and prevents arbitrary enforcements and retroactivity law that should be unfair harms of individuals. Next is that is access to the justice principles. Everyone should be have the access to legal representations and the court to seek protections of their rights or redressals of grievances. Implications: legal system must be accessible, affordable, and efficient, ensuring that justice is not just theoretical but practical and also actual to all the things. This was the important part of the access to the justice. Next, that is of the protections of the fundamental rights, that is principles. The law must protect fundamental human rights, including the rights to life, liberty, and property. This is very important things. Implications: law and legal process should be protect individuals from the abuse by the states and other ensure that rights are respected and upheld. This is very important things. Next thing, that is separations of powers. Power is divided amongst different branches of the government, typically executive, legislative, and judiciary to prevent the concentrations of power. Implications: these separations ensure that no single branch has absolute power, with the each branches serving as a check on the others, thus protecting individual freedoms and maintaining the things. Non-arbitrary and lawmaking principles. Laws should be made through a transparent democratic process that reflect the will of the people. Legislation should be not be created to serve the interest of a few, but should be the product of debate, consultations, and considerations of the public goods. Next is that is the principles. Law must be administered in a fair and consistent manner following the established legal procedures. Individual must be given notice to the legal actions against them, a fair hearings and opportunity to present their cases, ensuring that is the justice. Importance of the rule of law. When we're talking about the importance, that is protections of the rights. It safeguards the individual's right against the arbitrary powers. Promote fairness, ensure that law are applied equally to all. Prevents abuse of powers, limits the powers of governments and prevent authoritarianism. Fosters social orders by providing predictable and stable legal frameworks. It promotes social stability and orders. Economic growth. A strong rule of law encourages investments by ensuring that contracts are enforced and property rights are protected. This is also important parts. Next is that is the next part of rule of law, that is challenges to the rule of law. Corruptions, authoritarianism, lack of access to the justice, and weak institutions. These are important part to challenges before the rule of law. Next is here in conclusions. The rule of law is essential for a just, fair, and functional society. It is a cornerstone of democracy and is crucial for protecting rights and maintaining orders and promoting equality. This is very important chapters, yeah, units of the comparative government politics, that is rule of law. And through the we can achieve the good governance through the rule of law. And rule of law is very essential things, essential for just, fair, and functional society. Thanks for hearing these lectures.